Hey guys, it is Fast here. It's gonna be kind of a loosely recorded Satisfactory tips video, but I'm gonna cover all the tips that I base off of when I make my Satisfactory world. Obviously, there's going to be numerous spoilers. This is a guide for once you are kind of finished with the game. You just want to make your factories more fun, and you're not really trying to beat the game. Now, I'm going to cover blueprints, manifolds, hypertubes, setup areas, and a couple more tips. Let's begin with blueprints. So this is actually 2-in-1. This is blueprints and manifolds right here. So this is called a manifold. A manifold can also be like this. A manifold is just something where instead of being balanced like this, it is balanced by going through here and then going to here, which means that this will have to fill up before this gets a proper amount of resource, whereas this splits perfectly. The reason that you would want to use a manifold is because they are extremely compact compared to load balancers, which is what I've shown you. Now, when I talk about manifolds, I mean these manifolds where there's two sides to it. It's even more dense if there's two sides to it. And how it'll work is that you have an input source of materials. You just array splitters like this along with your machine. And then once you're done, you loop over like this, and it goes to the rest of the machines. Or you can have it split immediately, but that's less dense. Then you have your output either going this direction or this direction, depending on how your factory is built. I usually do it like this, but sometimes I do it like that. That's a manifold. Now, when it comes to multiple machines that have multiple inputs, it is not going to look as clean, but I do have a method of making it look a little bit cleaner. So if we create a manifold real quick with these numbers, and just imagine there's stuff on the other side, but it's not needed for this example, you'll notice that there's a certain point where this has to go through here. That is that can be prevented in two ways, and I usually do it in the second way I'm going to show you. The first way is to go like this, and what you're going to do is we're going to move these over too. And what you do is you go like this, and that is one way to make it look cleaner with multiple inputs. The way that I like to do it is like this. So I'm off. Fix that. Alright. So the way I like to do it is, and I'll show you this, but this is how I like to do it. Let's load in these conveyors. It doesn't look the cleanest, but this is how I do it. So you'll have steel pipes going through here, wire going through here, for example. And it doesn't make physical sense, but it looks clean. So what I was going now, so I've been talking about manifolds so far. We're going to go ahead and move on to blueprints. So what I do is, I don't know if I made a blueprint for this yet. I have. What I do is when I'm building, here, I'll go over here and build it. So that's the input. We go like this. And the reason that I like to have it loop over is because it's very scalable. So you can just go like that, you know, when you reach the end. So that's how you use blueprints. I'm just going to check over here again to see what else we have to look at. Blueprints. I did want to mention, I really like to, and it appears that I did that wrong. Yeah. I like to make these tileable blueprints. these ones, these tiles. When you want to copy them, you can just hit F, and then your copy button, or I guess whatever you use to deconstruct, copy. And then this is a problem I used to think. You have to press H, and I'll talk about this later, what I'm doing right now. You gotta do that each time. Well, something I learned recently is you can do this. See how fast you can build yourself a factory doing that? So, that's all I had to say about blueprints. Next we have manifolds, we already did that. Hypertubes. Hypertubes are very important before you get teleporters. You can do this. Now, how I set up these things is I make a blueprint, and I'll show you how to make the blueprint in a second here. So I make a blueprint that's like this, and I just kind of do this, and then I hit H, and I'll talk about nudging later, and just do that every time. If you want to know how you build these, you go like this. So make 4. Then, starting at the first one, every 2 little supports, you place an entrance. Next, and actually I think I put one of these lopsided, excuse me for that. It needs to be, the thing needs to be the right side of where you're going, so it needs to be like this. Then, on your blueprint, you place the power line, and you place a power line for every, blueprint. It makes it way easier if you already have a plugin. So you can just do it on each blueprint like that. Now, you simply have to go like this, and when it starts going like this, instead of like that, you don't want it to be sticking out like that. You want it to be not sticking out. And then, you kinda have to feel for it. It's not where it's red, it's like the middle of it being red. So it's kind of like right here. You're gonna have to kind of train yourself how to do it, but it's not that hard. And then, there you go, that's hypertubes. That's all I had to say about that. And the more you stack, the faster velocity you get. Actually, there's one more thing I do have to mention. A better hypertube is like this. This is how you should be making it. So it doesn't have to be that sharp of an angle. But if we go like this, then you can kind of fly into the air. That lets you get further, because you don't just shoot right into that thing, for example. But don't do it at that sharp of an angle. I'll show you how sharp the angle should be. It should be slightly sharper for how far you want to go to a certain point. You don't want it to be like that. This can work. I usually do that. And if you want to see what that does, it does that. And so you can fly as far as you want. Let me see what I have after hypertubes real quick. Set up areas. Now, I'm not going to cover the whole map, but I usually do this green fields area. The desert is pretty good too, both the rocky desert and the dune desert. When I start in the green fields, I set up concrete there, I set up the concrete that's up there, I set up iron here, the concrete there, the concrete's over there, the iron over there, the iron there, the copper there, the copper way over there, that iron, and that's where I start my basic factory. I just kind of collect all the things around this area. Then, when I start to go over to coal power, most people do that, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I prefer doing steel over there. I do my coal way over there, and I can't actually show it, but it's like, I'm trying to see, it's like right there. You see what I'm saying? It's called a crater. If you look up a map online, it's called a crater. That's where I set up my coal power, because you can also get compacted coal, turbo fuel, and rocket fuel all in that area. So it's very good for electricity. Now, after setup areas, we just have some general tips. Tip number 1 is called nudging. Basically, it's going to be arrows, keys, and then page up and page down. That's just the basic controls. You can change it. Sorry, I forgot to mention, this is all PC stuff. I don't know how PlayStation and Xbox works. H, basically you hit H if you didn't change the controls. Page up to go up and down, and then the arrow keys. That works for anything, pretty much, unless it said this building cannot be nudged, which is this one, for example. I think my other tip was to, yeah, this was my last tip. I like to, when it comes to making a good looking factory, I'm no expert, but I noticed that my factories look way better if I build the roof like this. I did have one last tip after this one. I really like this. No, that's wrong. No, that's... Hold on. Nope. Mistakes happen, people. Right there. I like to build my roofs like this. I think it looks good. That's how I build the roofs. And then one last thing after that. No, two last things. Three last things, actually. So I like to use concrete because it only uses concrete. Here, I can show you if I put it. No build cost. You'll notice that with these foundations and these foundations cost iron plates, but these ones just cost slightly more concrete. This allows you to just get a bulk amount of concrete and not have to store the same amount of iron plates. So I like using concrete stuff, which you can get in the Awesome Shop. The next thing that I wanted to say, I'm just gonna do this real quick. The next thing I wanted to say is that you can hit this button here, and you can select that, so you don't have to customize it every single time. And also in the customizer, you can go to colors or materials and you can say, hey, apply material, or you can do like, ooh, this one goes to concrete. I like to do this one because it looks better. So yeah, that's basically everything that I wanted to say. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye. Hey guys, narrator FastPest here. I forgot to mention this tip. I want to teach you guys a trick real quick. When you're in your early Satisfactory game and you're starting to get biofuel, you can have wood diverted to 5 different constructors with a Mark 1 line. I'm using a Mark 2 belt, but if you have 60 wood to 5 constructors all underclocked to a point where the output would be 60, they all take 12, meaning you can have an individual belt for every single constructor that you have, and they can all be producing biofuel.